Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really profound and honestly deeply fascinating. We're going to explore love, our very existence, and our relationship with the divine, all through the lens of Bhuya Sakor's highly reflective teachings. It's a journey that contrasts our absolute highest spiritual aspirations with, well, some of our most baffling earthly behaviors. I'm super excited to guide you through this, so let's just jump right in. Let me ask you something right off the bat. Do you have any idea how insanely expensive your life is today? And I don't mean your rent or your grocery bill. I'm talking about the literal, physiological, minute-by-minute financial cost of the body you're currently inhabiting. Who is footing the bill for you to just sit there and exist? Keep that mystery benefactor in the back of your mind, because we're actually going to calculate your exact invoice a bit later on. But before we get to the literal math of it all, we need to understand the ultimate goal of spiritual love. There's this incredibly powerful concept from Bhuya Sakor that basically says when you negate the name, you have arrived. In these teachings, truly arriving at spiritual love means completely letting go of earthly titles, names, and status. It's a state of total surrender where all the labels we cling to on a daily basis just vanish entirely. And that idea ties directly into what he calls the highest level of love. At this supreme ranking, you're in a state of extreme, unconditional longing. The beloved's name, their education, their wealth, their social status, they absolutely do not matter. You don't care if they have a PhD or if they're completely illiterate. You don't care about their pedigree. The love is just absolute, pure, and all-consuming. But, and here is where it gets kinda crazy. There's a massive paradox here. Negating identity can also lead to the absolute most foolish kind of love. The exact same detachment from logic, names, and identity that represents the absolute peak of spiritual devotion? Yeah, it also happens in our darkest, most absurd earthly moments. What is totally transcendent in one context becomes complete foolishness in another. To put that into perspective, Bhuya Sayakor uses this darkly humorous, real-world example of foolish love. He pictures a cheap transactional encounter on the Jati Barong train tracks, negotiated for a mere 20,000 rupiah. Neither person knows the other's name, their age, or where they're even from. It's intimacy entirely stripped of identity, but instead of being this wholly unconditional surrender, it's literally just a blind sacrifice for completely the wrong reasons. Or take this comparison. Imagine a teenager who completely ignores her devoted mother, a mother who loves her unconditionally even to the point of fainting from the heartbreak of being abandoned. Instead, the teenager foolishly chooses a deeply flawed, rebellious boyfriend. We're talking pierced nose, red braided hair, ripped jeans, earrings, the whole shebang. It makes absolutely zero logical sense, yet we see this kind of foolish, illogical love playing out all the time. So here is the million-dollar question. If we're so incredibly quick to blindly give our love, our loyalty, and our devotion to profoundly flawed humans, why do we demand so much from the ultimate provider? Why do we require endless proof, perfect circumstances, and constant blessings before we offer even a tiny fraction of that unconditional love to the Creator? To really grasp the scale of what that provider gives us, let's circle back to the actual cost of your existence. Just look at this number, 100,000 rupiah. That is the daily cost of merely breathing. Bhuya Shakur calculates this by looking at standard hospital rates. Medical oxygen is about 60,000 rupiah a bottle, plus maybe 40,000 for the delivery and the driver. That's 100,000 rupiah every single day, literally just to keep air in your lungs. If you actually map that out over, say, a 75-year lifespan, the math is staggering. At 100,000 rupiah a day, you're burning through 3 million rupiah a month. Over 75 years, you are looking at billions of rupiah just for oxygen. Now, how much does God charge us for all that breathing? Zero. Nothing at all. It is provided completely free of charge. And honestly, it isn't just about basic survival either. Think about the universe's unbilled luxuries. You get an endless supply of oxygen with absolutely zero shipping or delivery fees. And my personal favorite detail from his teachings, we've been upgraded to full color vision. Unlike vintage black and white TVs, we get to see the whole world in vibrant red, white, yellow, green, and blue, completely free. We take these incredible miracles totally for granted every single day. Let's bring this down to a human perspective for a second. Imagine if some secret benefactor was anonymously wiring you 30 million rupiah every single month. They're paying for your clothes, your cars, your food. Wouldn't you desperately want to meet them? Wouldn't you search absolutely everywhere to find out who this incredibly generous, mysterious person is? which reveals a massive, baffling contradiction in how we operate. If an earthly sugar daddy pays all our bills and invites us over, we sprint to meet them with excitement and deep longing. But when God, the one funding our literal moment-to-moment existence, calls us to meet, we run away, we hide, we make excuses, and we get totally terrified. It's completely unnatural and honestly, totally illogical. To highlight just how strange our behavior is, Buya Shakur tells the story about a guest in a mansion. Imagine a loyal student brings a young child to visit this lavishly guarded, ultra-luxurious house. The kid is marveling at the premium food, the luxury cars, the waiting drivers, and immediately asks the most natural, basic question. Where is the owner of this house? Where's the host? And that leads right into this profound cosmic realization. Now you live in this house on planet Earth with all its facilities. Crazy, don't you want to see what the person is like? We are all just guests on planet Earth, using all its premium, unbilled facilities, yet we completely lack that basic, childish curiosity to know the owner. We're perfectly happy raiding the fridge, but we completely ignore the host. Now, pointing this out to people isn't exactly easy. It acts like an uncomfortable mirror. It's incredibly awkward to tell someone they have this massive spiritual blind spot. The teachings compare it to having to tell a beautiful woman she has a grain of rice stuck to her cheek, or whispering to a guy that his fly is unzipped. It's a spiritual wardrobe malfunction that we really have to quietly self-correct. So, how do we actually go about fixing our spiritual report card? Well, here is the path laid out for us. Step 1. You have to honestly evaluate your own spiritual report card. Take a hard look at your gratitude. Step 2. Spark a basic desire to simply know the Creator. Before aiming for grand spiritual heights, just start with some basic curiosity about the host. And step 3. Cultivate true longing before you ever attempt that highest level of love. Which brings us to the end of today's explainer. I want to leave you with one final, lingering, and pretty provocative question straight from Buya Shakur. Why, until now, has your love for your God never emerged? Seriously, think about the billions of rupiah in free oxygen. Think about the full color vision. Think about the ultimate mystery benefactor funding your very existence. Evaluate your own heart and ask yourself, what is holding that love back? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today.